Welcome to your weekly astrological forecast for the week of Monday, February 7th through Sunday, February 13th. And this week as a whole, there's a few different things kind of lining up this week that all support us going forward and, moving forward with new plans, new direction, and, applying kind of insight that we've gained over the last several weeks and moving forward. So it's really beautiful. I think there's extra weight, extra oomph that we kind of have, maybe extra ambition and motivation, but also extra grace and ease with the projects that we're working on. So a lot of great things pointing toward increased activity and moving forward with what we are doing. This week in particular, so all planets are direct. I mentioned that since last week, Mercury turned direct. Now we have all planets going forward, and that's very powerful. So many new things happening. Things are literally moving forward. So more activity. Things are less unclear at this time. Things are less we don't have this kind of subdued, mystified energy of retrograde. Retrograde is great for some things. It's great for going within, for contemplation, etc. Now is not the time for that. Now is moving forward. Let's do something. Let's get going here. Let's get some activity. So that's really great with all planets direct. This week we have a first quarter moon at 19 degrees of Taurus. And this will be excellent. I'll get more into that here, but that does shake things up a bit, being a quarter moon, especially a first quarter moon. We also have Mercury conjunct Pluto at 27 degrees Capricorn, which is very interesting. I've talked about in the past how America has its Pluto at 27 degrees of Capricorn, and so Mercury combining with Pluto at this same degree is very telling and could definitely trigger some certain things here. And I'll also talk about what that means for the rest of us as well, not just, as a nation, but also as individuals, and for the rest of the world, of course, as well. And then this week as well, there's an aspect which actually happens February 16th, but we will begin to experience it this week because Venus and Mars are going to be almost conjunct for most of February. And so even this week, as you can see here on the chart already, at the top of the chart, right here, they are within a couple degrees. So they're basically conjunct starting this week, really, within a couple degrees from one another and traveling together through Capricorn throughout the rest of the month. And I'll talk more about what that means as well, but that's definitely exciting and beautiful, very energizing and motivating. So that's definitely have got some good news to share here for this forecast. So starting on Monday, February 7th, Moon is in Taurus, and it will actually cross over Uranus. And so I talked about in the last forecast how Moon in Taurus is exalted, so that's typically when Moon is in Taurus, that would be the time that we would feel the most grounded. And the Moon is strong there because Moon representing our emotional core, our identity on sort of a core or internal level. All of that is very much in harmony when Moon is in Taurus because Taurus is grounded and has structure and knows its limits, knows its boundaries. It's very kind of focused on supporting its own self. It's very sovereign. But at the same time, it's also gracious to others. It's receptive. It's nurturing to others, and so there's this kind of close to perfect balance of taking care of oneself, but also empathizing for others. Going with the flow, but also having structure and knowing where your boundary is, where your limit is. So Moon in Capricorn is generally great. Generally sets a really good kind of overtone for the day. However, this is a little bit different this week, how we will experience it for two reasons. One is because Uranus is in Taurus and Moon will cross over Uranus today, so that shakes things up a bit. It brings some unpredictability, some volatility to a region which is usually stable. Taurus usually rules stable things. Taurus rules our finances, among other things. It rules how we support ourselves, and so we like all that to be stable. But with Uranus there, it shakes things up dramatically. So that is one reason why Moon in Taurus, especially crossing over Uranus, it's not always stable and secure. It is a little bit shaky right now. But secondly, we also have that first quarter moon that I mentioned. Now, this is not happening on Monday, but moon is already in the sign that it will square the sun. And, you can see it's close here. It almost looks like a 90-degree aspect, almost on Monday here. It's getting close. So we'll already feel the rumblings there. We'll already feel this aspect, almost coming into play here. Moon and sun are already squaring by sign. They're just not exactly squaring by degree, by aspect yet. So anyway, so all of this points to things being a little bit unpredictable, feeling very volatile. We may be very stubborn, but at the same time, very restless and prone to change our minds. That's the interesting thing here. It's the first quarter moon combining two fixed signs, which fixed signs are very self-assured and strong-willed. They don't really so much make compromises as much. They are more consistent and they want to just go with whatever they're doing, whatever they are. And so combining these two energies, it really doesn't so much work. There is a clash there, and that does result in us being very energetic, very productive, very motivated, maybe more outgoing or more spontaneous. But on the other hand, it can result in stress, anxiety, pressure. And so my advice with this quarter moon, just like with every quarter moon, especially the first quarter moons, because I would argue this rivals the full moon for the most active part of the lunar cycle. But anyway, my advice for it would be to try to be active. Don't put too much pressure on yourself where you are getting strung out, trying to conquer the world. But at the same time, you also can't just expect this day to be a very restful day. This is very different than last Monday where the week was starting out so slow. This week kind of starts with a bang here. So you do kind of have to hit the ground running, so to speak. And I don't know, like you have to do something. There's this angsty, anxious, frenetic energy. So it's promoting us to be more active, generally speaking. So moral of the story is, we have to kind of be active. I think this is especially good for a Monday, getting out there and being productive or working on a task, working on something. We need something to chew on as we start this week here because there are changes. And that's something to take note of as well, that there may be unpredictable changes, sudden shifts. Things that were thought to be stable are dramatically shifting on Monday potentially. So there's that to look out for. It's nothing dramatically, it's nothing super extreme or life changing. But generally speaking, that is there for Monday. So Monday is energetic, scattered, unpredictable. But I think this is a good energy as long as you kind of roll with the punches. You are, kind of go with the flow and allow things to not be so predictable and accept that, and then just kind of get out there and do what you can. If you have that attitude, I think that would be the best for this Monday here. Tuesday, February 8th, we have the exact first quarter moon at 19 degrees Taurus. And so this is not conjunct Uranus. The moon is just squaring the sun, but it's still pretty close to Uranus, and it's still in the same sign, of course. And so this again, it's a lot of the same themes of Monday. It's very unpredictable, maybe even more intensely so on Tuesday because you have that exact first quarter moon. And so just like I said last week, where the seeds were planted when the moon conjoined the sun, now, things are sprouting from the earth in a very dramatic way, and that's where new developments need to make room for themselves and perhaps disrupt the status quo, and especially when you involve, Uranus, the planet of earthquake and sudden change and awakening. And also, the sun is in Aquarius, which is ruled by Uranus, sort of, in modern astrology. So yeah, all this boils down to immense change, immense, sudden growth and evolution. This can be difficult. There can be growth pains. There can also become increased stress with the realizations we might have today. But at the same time, it's really great for evolving, changing, growing, and starting things too. If you have something you need to initiate at this time, this would be excellent as well, as long as what you're starting doesn't depend on a lot of like intricate plans coming together. if you're, trying to manage some huge event where all these, people have to be involved and everything has to happen at the right time, it's not going to happen today. It's just not. But if you're starting some kind of project that's maybe a little bit more simple, maybe something you're kind of doing more on your own, that's, something that might really benefit from this sort of energy today. All right, February 9th on Wednesday, Moon enters Gemini. And this is a lot different again here. So Monday and Tuesday are so angsty and there's so much volatility. It's so dramatic, theatrical. I think Wednesday is more it's more strong and more stable. And this is kind of weird considering the moon is entering Gemini. Typically, Taurus is such a stable sign, and Gemini is so fickle and scattered and malleable. However, you have to keep in mind the aspect. So in Taurus, the moon was squaring the sun, so you had that volatility and that change, especially with Uranus. Now the moon is in Gemini, so it's beginning to trine the sun. Now the sun is at 20 degrees Aquarius. It's entering that last third of Aquarius, and so the moon won't have that exact trine with the sun until later this week. But even on Wednesday, I think this is really beautiful. The moon entering Gemini means both the sun and the moon are in air signs, and this will be a waxing gibbous moon, meaning that it's more than half full as we observe it. The moon is, and so, there is that increased energy, increased activity, generally speaking. But the moon beginning to sort of start trining the sun here, it means things are harmonious. Trines are easy aspects, they're lazy aspects. And so we can almost kind of, I would say relax, but I think this is still a pretty high vibe, high energy dynamic. Trines can be active, I think. But especially combining how all the planets are direct right now, and we still are coming off of that intensity of the beginning of the week. I think there is a lot of activity still going on Wednesday, but it is at the same time more stable and more harmonious. I think there's more of a potential to have fun on Wednesday. Moon in Gemini wants to have fun. It wants to learn, be curious. It wants to interact with others. And it wants to learn, but it also wants to have fun. And so combining the moon in Gemini with sun in Aquarius, this becomes more experimental, more playful, more light and detached, and more fun, I would say. Less intense. And there can be some scattered energy that comes with Gemini. There can be some frenetic energies or sudden kind of unpredictable changes. But at the same time, there's this stable, reinforcing element of moon trining the sun. So this is generally stable, generally positive, and it looks like a good time to me. It looks like fun. We have these airy energies where we're all maybe more sociable, more interactive with others. And even if you're not interacting with others, maybe you're just kind of learning more, you're interacting in some other way. That's what I would see here with these strong Aquarius and Gemini energies emerging where the sun and the moon are. All right, and then going forward to Thursday, February 10th, moon is still in Gemini. It's about halfway through, and here we have the sun sextiling Neptune. So sun at 21 degrees Aquarius, sextile. Oh, I'm sorry. It looks like a semisextile to Neptune at 21 degrees Pisces. I was going so fast there. Okay, so I don't usually cover semisextiles. This is a very subtle aspect. It's a very minor aspect, and so it's not the most obvious or tangible. It depends, if you have placements in this area, you may experience this. But semisextiles are very hit or miss. Not only in terms of experiencing them, since they are a little bit more minor, they're also more hit and misses because whenever you have a semisextile, you're combining two very different energies. In this case, Sun in Aquarius with Neptune in Pisces. These are very different because signs that are next to one another are always very different. Aquarius is so stoic and objective and detached, and Pisces is much more, passionate and emotional. It's more sensitive and intuitive. it's almost like left brain, right brain here. So there's almost this kind of like clashing. The hit or miss though part is that these energies can link up. They're almost like I compare it to sibling energies when you have two signs next to each other, because they're in the same sort of context, much like siblings are. Siblings come into the world at the same general time, so maybe within a few years of one another, or what have you. So they come usually in a similar environment, and yet each one can be very different from one another. And so that's sort of how signs that are next to each other are like. Aquarius and Pisces are both at the end of winter. They both have to do with those very general themes of, wrapping up the whole cycle. So these are kind of old soul energies. These are maybe more abstract or ambiguous, more complex energies, more holistic, more having to do with, society or the far future, the universe, etc. So there's these kind of like lofty concepts of these signs that are shared here. But when you get to the nitty gritty and, what we can actually the actual more tangible aspects of these signs, those are very different. Again, Aquarius is so detached, it's so, analytical and intellectual. Pisces is so passionate, so emotional, so creative. So these are very different. So there's almost like this hit or miss there, where we may, I don't know, we may kind of rub up on one another the wrong way. There may be a sort of awkwardness, but at the same time, when you have a semisexual aspect, it's almost amusing how to watch how fast we can go between getting along very well together and then not getting along, much like siblings can do. That's the energy here as well. So hit or miss, us all kumbaya getting together as a big happy family, especially with these later sign planets, or clashing together and completely disagreeing terribly. That there's potential for both there. However, again, the moon is within range of that trine from the sun, so things are generally positive. Things are generally friendly here still on Thursday. Going to Friday, February 11th, moon enters Cancer later in the day, and so yeah, this is interesting. Where the moon is it's gaining a lot more light, and it's getting more full. With the moon in Cancer, moon is in domicile in Cancer, so we're all more aware of our own emotions, our beliefs, our own sort of stance, if you will. It's more personal, and we're more firm in those areas. But then with the sun in Aquarius, the focus, generally speaking, more in the background, is on the far future, on groups. It's more holistic, so it's on our aspirations, our dreams, our goals, and also the groups we affiliate ourselves with. So combining these two things, Moon and Cancer, which is our personal emotions, with Sun and Aquarius, which is groups and the future, it ends up both. One of the few things these signs have in common is that they both have themes involving the tribe. So Cancer, is the sign of the family, and Aquarius is the sign of the community or society. And so both have this immense need to connect with others, not only on a personal one-on-one level, but also on a bigger picture level. Both of these energies require feeling secure in a larger group of some sort. So that's generally where the theme is here. We're feeling maybe more stubborn, more emotional, more aware of our own emotions, but at the same time more eager to connect with others and to feel tribal or part of a group in some way as well. Friday we also have Mercury conjunct Pluto at 27 degrees Capricorn, and I did mention this earlier here. So America has not yet had its Pluto return. It will become exact later this month, and that will be very big. However, it's very close. Pluto is very close to that degree, and Mercury crossing over this point, it brings the focus there. So I do see a potential for some kind of event here, especially because Mercury just retrograded over this point. So things may have been building up to some event that will finally emerge on the 11th. So we may have felt rumblings of this over the last several weeks. But something may reach a boiling point of some sort, and there may be some kind of event. I know this is very general, I really can't predict much more specific than that, but it would be focused on the United States of America, and it would be centered around some kind of crisis, so like a constitutional crisis or some kind of structure to the very foundation of the essence of this country, which I know I'm getting abstract again here, but with that Pluto return coming up, this involves the fundamental transformation of the country that needs to happen this year. And I really mean that. I truly do. And so, some kind of event that would be the manifestation of that is potentially likely this month, especially February 11th, with this aspect in particular. Now, for everyone else, not so much thinking about the country or what have you, but just thinking about how this would affect us personally, Mercury, of course, represents how we think, how we communicate, our actions, our short distance travel, etc. So all those things become merged with Pluto, and so things are kind of intensified. We may be thinking a little bit more pessimistically or more sinisterly. Pluto, it does have a sort of darkness to it, and so we may be thinking in a more fatalistic way. We may communicate maybe more bluntly, especially with Mercury and Capricorn conjunct Pluto. Maybe maybe more painfully aware of our limitations, maybe more aware of the darkness, and communicating that as well. So that can be very interesting for the communication, but that's generally what I would see. So the remedy to this, it's good to be cynical. It's good to have a healthy skepticism. That's not a bad thing, of course. Um, let's see. I just, I guess there's really nothing to do to improve on this. I think all you have to do is experience it and just let it happen. It will really only mainly affect Friday, since Mercury is traveling a little bit faster now. But yeah, I think another positive here too is that Mercury and Pluto, when they're combined together like this, married, they're sort of on a team in a way. These are very perceptive planets, probably the most perceptive. So Mercury has that, mental acuity and that ability to perceive and to see those patterns. Pluto prompts us to have perception as well into the core of things. Pluto ruling Scorpio, us wanting to see into the very depth of something, to the depth of ourselves or each other. And so there is that insight as well, that maybe paranoia or cynicism, that um, maybe thinking or communicating in a more bleakish kind of way. But at the same time, we may be able to perceive very powerfully as well and to uncover large truths, as dark as they may be. Going forward to Saturday, February 12th, Moon is still in Cancer, and Moon is starting, it's already opposing this cluster of planets in Capricorn. So even that can provide some kind of friction. And then we're, beginning to start to gear up toward the full moon that will happen next week in Leo, I believe. Um, so right now, it's almost like a clash between Moon and Cancer, which rules more so rules us on a personal level, I think. So it kind of represents the individual, us on an individual level, and it's sort of clashing with all these other planets which are in the realm of Capricorn, which rules, the nation or the empire, the ruler, the boss. There's this clash between sort of the people and the rulers, the boss, etc. So I think this could be political. I think there could be some kind of a clash there, some kind of event, some kind of, I can't tell what it is. A protest, and again, it could be something that starts on Friday, but then has ramifications on Saturday. Um, you know, so it's interesting. I'm almost having trouble with it. I think we might feel a little bit perplexed and unnerved, I think is a good word. We almost might feel kind of like intuitively picking up on things, that something has changed, something's not right. Um, And sort of catch-22 is that even that feeling alone, we can actually manifest that ourselves, even if nothing has actually happened yet. Moon in Cancer combined with Mercury conjunct Pluto, even going into Saturday. Um, on the one hand, these are very perceptive energies. We may pick up on things and be able to figure things out intuitively very well. On the other hand, these can be very paranoid energies, and we may be thinking that we're picking up on something when we're actually just inventing it in our own heads. And sometimes it can be very difficult to tell which one is the actual truth, or sometimes there's multiple truths. It's hard to know if there is an objective truth or reality to cling to. So this does look kind of dark to me. It looks ambiguous and confusing. I really feel like there's something that happens and this will probably be multiple events throughout the world, but something on a more national or collective level that happens on Friday that there's almost like a reaction to on Saturday, and this can affect us in our personal lives as well. Um, you know, as above, so below. Something that happens as a nation, there may be a different event that happens just for each of us in our own personal lives that mirrors the themes of those events as well, if that makes sense. So there could be something that happens for you on Friday um, that we'll be dealing with Saturday, and again, I think it's just important to, um, I guess, just to stay grounded and to just observe and to not, uh, to because when we are kind of experiencing these more intuitive or perceptive energies, as long as we're just observing and not coming to conclusions and then coming to more conclusions off of those conclusions and then going even farther and projecting, as long as we just observe and just sit back, I think that's kind of maybe what we need to do here, I would say. The stance that I would advise, because I think it's too soon to say what's going on. I will say generally though in the background, like I said before, Venus and Mars are very close, and so throughout all of this, there is this very, sweetness. There's this ambition and drive. There's this very rewarding energy in Capricorn. And so I think we are having more luck, more fortune, more drive, more success in our long term goals, our plans, our careers, establishing structure to our lives, etc. All of that, there's this kind of boost to it at the same time. So, um, I don't know. I'm having trouble fitting that in one thing here, but we have I don't know. It's interesting. It's almost like we're all kind of in our own lane, and we're all thriving, and we're all maybe not thriving, but we're all accomplishing a lot right now. But at the same time, there's this darkness there as well, and it's hard to even penetrate. It's hard to describe. Going to Sunday, February 13th. Moon is still in Cancer, makes a trine to Neptune, and but the moon itself, it's generally speaking, it's opposing all these planets in Capricorn, and even starting to oppose these Aquarius planets. It's generally on the other side of the chart here, so it's all alone. So although we are feeling so assured of ourselves, so emotionally confident, maybe feeling our emotions more vibrantly, it's almost like there's nothing to ground it to. It's like there's opposition that we feel with the world here. I think these energies are very isolating. It's almost like we're kind of all in our own world as we go into this weekend here. So I would say it's a very strange energy, especially considering it's a weekend. It seems like kind of a loner energy, maybe a good weekend to kind of lay low or to relax or recuperate. Um, Maybe just spend some time with someone you know very well rather than do something more daring or bold, just because um, it looks like a strange, kind of unnerving, isolating energy. Um, I think the main beautiful part is throughout the weekend, Moon does trine Jupiter and Neptune, so there is this ability to be creative and intuitive, perceptive, and then also Venus and Mars are sort of blessing our long-term projects. Those things are really great, but at the same time, there's this darkness there. So I would say to lay low over the weekend. That continues to Sunday, but Sunday as well. Sun makes a, let's see here. Actually, that's it, I believe. I'm just kind of double checking. Yep, that is about it. So that's what I see for this week. It's definitely a strange week. I'm sorry. I hope that makes sense, but it's hard to put into words, but hopefully I conveyed that for you all right here. Next week is interesting. There's a lot of things happening, actually. Mercury enters Aquarius. We have a full moon at the end of Leo. We also have Venus and Mars making the exact conjunction at 16 degrees Aquarius. We also have Jupiter sextiling Uranus, which is unusual because these are two very outer planets, and so having those make an exact aspect to one another is very pivotal and very telling. So I'll talk more about that next week. And then we also have Sun entering Pisces next week. So happy birthday, Pisces, coming up here. So anyway, a lot to go over next week, so stay tuned. But thank you for watching, and if you need to reach me, you can email me at manic.mercurian@gmail.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.